Okay, I'm here in Sage Ward and sewing, which is not something that I'm very good at, and so it reminded me of a funny story. Since I am not a sewer, and my family knows I am not a sewer because when I sit down to sew, it makes me very cranky. So one time I was in my den sewing, and my husband walked in the door, saw that I was sewing, immediately turned around and walked out. He knew better than to talk to me when I was sewing.
Okay, there was one year when we had to go Christmas shopping and all of our children are to make a list of things that they wanted, and our son David, he wrote down that he wanted And1 shoes. So here we are in the mall thinking, our son is an idiot. He just wants one shoe. We did not understand what And1 shoes were.
Y pues fui a la ciudad y andaba en las tiendas mirando y buscando a ver qué compraba y en ese tiempo yo andaba sola caminando por las calles de la ciudad. Entonces pues yo traía puesta una blusa roja y encima de la blusa roja traía puesto un suéter o un suétercito encima. Entonces sí, iba caminando pues muy bien, confiada y todo, y pues las mujeres tenemos la maña de mirarnos en el espejo de los aparadores. Entonces sí, pero en ese tiempo a mí me dio mucho calor y me quité el suéter y me lo eché aquí y empecé a caminar otra vez. Y en eso volteo y me miro en los espejos y me voy mirando que traía la blusa al revés. Dije yo, ¡ah! Al revés. Agarré mi suéter y otra vez me lo volví a poner y sudando mucho calor.
But anyway, I had just broken up with this guy and I was heartbroken. So I went to the temple for some consolation. So I'm sitting there and I'm praying and I'm asking my Father to help me to understand, to help me get through this heartbreak and to find somebody that will love me and appreciate me for who I was, that I was just ready. I'm ready, Heavenly Father, I'm ready. So we go up to the endowment room, get through the session, and there's not very many of us in this session. So I go into the prayer circle. And of course I didn't know the people in the prayer circle. And it was a young man, probably a little bit older than me. And halfway through he starts squeezing my hand. Really squeezing it. Really squeezing it. And I thought, oh, maybe he's just nervous. Maybe he's just nervous. And when we got through in the prayer circle, he stares down into my eyes and I think, oh, that's kind of weird. So I go back and sit down, and then when we went through and we got into the Celestial room, I'm sitting there and he comes in and sits next to me on the couch and starts talking to me. And I thought, okay, Jen, and I've always been kind of shy with guys, but I thought, okay, Jen, it's all right. You can handle this. Well, he starts talking to me and telling me that he had this really special feeling about me and that he thought that we should get to know each other and asked me if he could drive me home. Well, I panicked. I absolutely panicked. Now, okay, I don't know if I'm condemned to hell for this or not, but I lied in the temple.
And when she was pregnant and went to the hospital with me, my brother told her that if he came home with any more grills, not to come home. So she came home anyway with me, and one of the ladies in Relief Society had agreed to take the baby, me, from my brother, and my brother offered to sell her, or sell me to her for 30 pieces of bubble gum. And the lady paid the bubble gum to my brother, and luckily my mom got me back.
Before I had two boys, I had gone up to Arizona. At one time, that I always said, those are the neighbors' kids, because they always act up and never did anything I wanted them to do. And the neighbor next to me turned around and says, don't add them to me because they're not my kids.
As a young bishop, my Relief Society president came to me one day. Now, you got to understand, she was the Sherry Dew, Julie Beck, polished future general authority type woman, just Wonder Woman. And I thought she walked on water. I mean, she had 8 kids, and her husband was a professor at BYU, and she just kind of radiated greatness. And one Sunday she came to me, and I could tell that something was wrong. Her hair was a little messed up, and she had the bags under her eyes, and she looks at me and she says, "These hot flashes are killing me." Now, I was in my 30s at this time, early 30s, and I didn't know what a hot flash was. But I knew well enough just to kind of make a serious face and try to look like I understood what she was saying. And so she was just going on and on about hot flashes. And I thought to myself, I know what hot pockets are. Are hot flashes like hot pockets? But the more she was talking, I could see how serious she was, that this was ruining her marriage, that she was totally frustrated. But how was I, as her priesthood leader, to give her any comfort if I didn't even know what she was talking about? Well, at one point, I was saying a prayer while listening to her, and I said, "Heavenly Father, what are hot flashes?" And at that moment, the Spirit came and said, "Brian, I know what hot flashes are. Offer her a blessing, and it'll be okay." Now, I said to this sweet Relief Society president, I said, "May I give you a blessing?" And she looked relieved, and I put my hands on her head, and at that moment, I felt the Spirit come, and I finally understood what hot flashes were.